Listeners, hello, welcome back for the fan show, back again. It's the 4th of October on the day of recording. Hopefully this is up on the same day. Hi everyone, it's me, Ben. As ever, I'm joined by Callum and Jack. Jack, hi.
Hello.
How are you? Everything all right?
Not too bad, yeah. I'm pretty good mood.
What are we doing?
I don't know. I'm just happy today. Obviously, FBA results out tomorrow.
Yeah.
So exciting.
Congratulations, us. Okay.
Commiserations.
Hopefully. I mean, if we're now not up for it, that's going to be awful, isn't it? I'm also joined by Callum, affectionately known as Keno. Keno, how are you?
Hello. It's October now, as you said. It's my birthday in just over a week. So
excellent.
And you got a present this week.
Got anything nice planned, or?
A few things.
No,
yeah.
okay.
The best present would be winning this award,
winning the FBAs.
I thought you were going to say Villa getting a win, but I was thinking that's not.
Let's have realistic suggestions only, please, Jack. Right then, as ever, as customary, we will start things off with this week's feature, and it's a head-to-head battle, as it ever is. But actually, you've got a fastest finger kind of guess this week. So,
Keno's been lagging a little bit earlier, so I now feel confident because I can wait 10 seconds before I interject.
You have the latency advantage, I think.
It's not LAN, listeners. It's not LAN. Okay, then. So the way it's going to work is I'm going to give you clues about a footballer or someone who's currently in the Premier League, and you're going to, you're going to tell me who that person is. All right. So after each clue, there'll be a little silence, and you can have a guess if you want. But it's just first person to get it right. If you have a guess
and get it wrong,
you get one guess. You get one guess.
Okay, and then you're out, and the person can wait for all the clues.
There are up to 5 clues. I will tell you when all the clues have been given, and then you can put your guess in. So clue number one for player number one is: I've played for my current club on 2 separate occasions.
Okay.
I've played for my current club on 2 separate occasions. I'm 28 years old.
Not very old to have played twice for the same club.
No. I am a striker.
I feel like it's really obvious and I just don't know it.
I have 1 Premier League goal to my name.
Oh, right.
I mean,
well,
that throws
not prolific.
Throws a spanner in the work there, doesn't it?
And the final clue, no one's guessed yet,
I feel like one of us should have it by now. But
the club in between my current club, which is a Premier League club, was Norwich.
Fuck.
28-year-old striker with 1 Premier League goal, who's played for this club on 2 separate occasions.
And the club in between him going and coming back was Norwich.
If you don't get the point, I'm adding myself to this.
I'm thinking of players who have played for Norwich up front, but maybe that's like a trick.
Right. Anyway, any guesses?
I feel like I should guess something.
I mean, someone guess something, for goodness sake.
I'll go. I was going to say Harry Kane.
All right, Harry Kane's Jack's answer. It's not correct. It's not correct.
Does he have more than 1 goal?
I mean, technically not a striker. It's not someone like Robert Snodgrass, is it? Or
no. The correct answer, point to Ben, is Lewis Grabban.
Oh,
£7 million move back to Bournemouth.
Okay.
After a short spell at Norwich, didn't go that well.
You know why he left Norwich? If you don't know,
no, we don't know. We don't know.
No, we don't. We don't know. Sorry, we don't know.
Right,
why did he leave for Norwich?
Next player.
You're gonna have to tell me that afterwards.
Next player. I am 5'6". I'm not really. I'm 6'2", but I am 5'6". I signed for my current Premier League club for £10 million.
That's quite a lot.
I have won the European Championships twice. No guesses.
It's a small.
I
don't want to waste my guess.
I was the player of the season in 2012-13 for Arsenal.
Stop. Santi Cazorla.
Correct. That is correct answer. It was Santi Cazorla. The final clue was my first name is the same name as the lead in the Goal films, in brackets, the good ones that people have seen, close brackets.
The what? The what in there?
The Goal films.
My first name is the same as the lead in the Goal films.
Okay.
Santiago.
Okay.
Santiago.
No, but Kino, what's the guy's last name? Santiago. If you don't know this, like, you're off the podcast. Okay.
Nunes.
Panko.
That's not that. No extra points.
I think I would have got it after the European Championships, but I was worried that Jack might nip in before me.
I'm scared about saying like something too soon.
Yeah,
that's
the stakes
are
high.
That's the point of it.
High.
Okay, next one. So far, me and Kino have 1 point each. Okay,
Happy to share it with you, Ben.
I was born in Southampton. No guesses?
Okay.
No, you weren't.
I am an international.
Right. Okay, not...
I have had loan spells at Leeds, Bristol, Sheffield United, Norwich, Burnley, and most recently Brighton. This clue's going to get you both. Ready?
Loan spell at Brighton.
Wait. Does he? I can't ask a question, can I?
No, you can't.
I'll give the clues, Jack. You give the answers.
No, you can't. Is it him? He didn't ever go to... No, keep going.
I have scored...
Just to double check, Ben, sorry. All Premier League players, yeah?
Yep, including this clue here, I have scored in the Premier League this season. So yes, they are Premier League players. I have scored in the Premier League
who'd they played for?
They were the loan spells they had. Didn't have to be recent loan spells. I'm just saying he most recently had a loan spell at Brighton. That was his most recent loan spells. I play for Burnley. That's got a big clue. And there's a stunned silence.
I still don't want to get it wrong. I might know who it is.
Stop. I think it might be a bit of a trick about Southampton. It's not Sam Vokes, is it?
The correct answer is Sam Vokes,
yes.
Kino. Well done. Welsh international, but born...
I don't want to come in too soon, but I might have to check.
Jack, at this point, you have no points, Jack. I'd come in at some point if I were you.
How many more have we got?
That Southampton one was a bit of a trick.
There's a few left.
The Southampton one was a bit of a trick, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
I did think it might be.
I am 6.135 inches tall. Centimetre, but no, feet tall.
6 inches tall?
Sorry, I'm 6 inches tall. No, I am 6 foot 1.35 inches tall.
Oh, it's precise.
Yeah.
6 foot 1?
6 foot 1 and a bit, yeah.
Okay.
I am friends with Australian snooker player Neil Robertson.
Ooh. No, keep going. I think
my parents are called Ted and Sue.
That hasn't shed any more light on it for me.
No. I have 4 Premier League winners' medals.
Oh my god.
My parents are called Ted and Sue. I'm friends with Neil Robertson. And the final clue...
I feel like I know the Neil Robertson bit.
When it was given out, I am in the PFA Team of the Century, who was given out in 2007.
John Terry.
Point to Jack.
Oh.
Let's go. He's a Chelsea fan. I was going through my head of Chelsea... I don't know why I know that Neil Robertson is a Chelsea fan.
I thought Ted and Sue gave it away, but never mind.
No.
Why? What would?
Well, I should say that makes that, to me at least, that indicates they're British. Ted and Sue.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, either way,
it's true.
Ted Terry.
Right.
I'm well happy with that point.
Next one. I have represented England at 6 levels of football. Maybe more, but I couldn't find out about like under 16, under 16. Martin Keown said, "I will be," and I quote, "one of the best players we'll ever see in this country."
I think I
know who it is. I don't want to say it too soon.
I am eligible to play for Nigeria.
Stop.
Kino?
Is it Nathaniel Chalobah?
Incorrect. Jack, there are 2 clues left. Kino's
I'll wait for both clues.
I am 6'2".
Okay.
I was born in Liverpool and I still live there today.
Ross Barkley.
Correct.
Yeah.
Ross Barkley's
correct
answer. Thank you.
Because he is part Nigerian.
His grandfather. His grandfather is.
It's very odd, isn't it? I thought I was because I know that Chalobah is representing England at almost every level other than senior, and obviously he's young and like stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
I should point out when you said Nigeria, I knew who it was.
Excellent.
I didn't want to go into.
You didn't want to gamble. Now the Kino went as well. That was brave.
I thought I might try and nick one early.
First clue. I am Egyptian. There you are.
Sobby.
Who? Sorry.
The Stoke player, is it
No.
Sobby?
No, there's only 2 more clues left, Keno, so good luck. Well, 3 clues left.
Brilliant. I'll take that.
I had 2 loan spells at the club I currently play for.
I know who it is now. No.
I played for Sunderland once.
No.
And the final clue is, I like celebrating in front of TV cameras.
No, I know who it is.
Thank you, Jack. Ahmed Al-Mohammadi.
Correct. Point to Keno.
There's like 2 Egyptian players.
Why did you throw it away?
Gamble.
You went very early there, Jack. I'm not going to lie.
I did. As soon as I knew it wasn't him, though, I knew it was Al-Mohammadi.
Right, we're going to do like 4 more, I think.
4 more?
4 more.
I'm enjoying today's feature.
Yeah, it's a good feature. I feel like we
What's
go with
the
it.
scores at the moment? Is it
3-2?
3 to
1?
Keno, 2 to you, 1 to me. Okay. I played for Barcelona B 59 times.
Woo.
I have an Olympic and European Cup medal. I should say winners, I guess. Gold. I've won the Bundesliga 3 times.
Oh, that's put a cat amongst what I was my.
It's not our below
I was
then, because that's what I was
expecting.
thinking it was.
No. I've never played for an English team.
Oh.
What the?
I am 45 years old.
A Premier League footballer?
No, I didn't say they were footballers.
Oh! No, it's not. 45. No, is it? Is it a manager? And if it is him, is it him?
Is it Pep Guardiola?
Point to Keno. I don't know why Jackie's just sat there thinking.
I don't know.
All the clues were gone. All the clues were gone.
Jack's been a bit inconsistent because he's gone really early on a couple of them and then sort of sat on them.
I very cleverly
ones.
worded it. People from the Premier League. I didn't actually say players, but there you are.
I knew it was Pep.
So it's a point. Okay. Let's go for this one. Before my move to the Premier League, I played for Gremio.
Bzz.
Jack?
Lucas for Liverpool.
Bloody hell, that's very
Let's
impressive.
go.
I know he's a Liverpool fan, but even so, for Jack, that's very impressive.
That is good, yeah.
Okay, well done, Jack. Yeah,
Begrudgingly give him that one.
200 Premier League appearances, first and last name with the same initial. Have 1 goal in the Premier League against Newcastle, and I'm a
Do
defensive
I get any
midfielder.
bonus points for getting it off 1 clue, or is that
No,
not a
you just
thing?
get the respect of the listeners, Jack, which I think is
Okay,
worth. It's going to be worth more than a point, so have that. Right, next one. I was born in the northeast. I am
Like
35
so many
years
other
old.
millions of
I am
people.
35 years old.
Okay.
I have played for both West Ham and Tottenham. I have won the Charity Shield 6 times. Community Shield, I think it's known. 6 times.
35.
I have 34 England caps.
West Ham and Tottenham.
Great feature this week, listeners. You know it's a good feature when there's silence after clues.
My
It is-
brain hurts.
No, yeah,
is there any
like-
more clues?
You've
or
got
is
10
that it?
seconds
It's
before Ben
so-
takes the point.
It's so. I feel like. Okay, I'm going to take a guess at Jermaine Defoe, but I know it's
Incorrect.
wrong. But
3,
I have
2,
no idea.
5.
1.
No idea.
Meh. The correct answer is
don't know.
Michael Carrick, and the point goes to
Ah.
Ben. He's also played for Manchester United, boys, but I didn't want to
Yeah.
include that in the clues. But Charity Shield 6 times. It's a lot.
I know.
It's a lot of times. Okay, we'll do 2 more. I played for Barcelona. Oh, I
Okay.
have played for Barcelona.
Yeah.
I have played for Bayern Munich.
Right.
I've scored 83 goals for Manchester United and 25 for Chelsea. I grew up in Wrexham.
What?
I have managed 5 Premier League teams.
Stop.
Come
Mark
on.
Hughes.
Point to
Do you know what? Like that was throwing me totally because I thought that no modern footballer
I don't
goes
like
from
these managers.
And that's curveballs. Curveballs, I like to call them.
no modern footballer has that adventure now, do they? So
No.
I was really confused by
Yeah.
how
I
someone
grew up
from
in Wrexham.
Wrexham plays.
Okay, final one then.
Well, I've lost, haven't I?
Yeah,
Have
Kino's
one,
got.
yeah.
I mean, Jack. All I can say is you could draw with me if you don't get this. And Kino doesn't get it either. I mean, it's in Kino's interest not to answer.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe I will just leave this last one and see if.
Just me suffering.
I was found guilty of assault in 2013 after I punched a man who accused me of taking drugs in a Swindon nightclub toilet cubicle.
Did you talk to this guy, Ben, whoever it was?
I can't talk about it. Court case pending. It's 3 years late. I've scored 48 goals. I scored 48 goals in 42 games for Poole Town.
Ooh.
I know. No, Poole.
Ooh, no,
Keep giving me
I am
clues.
27 years old. I wear the number 10 shirt.
Stop. Troy Deeney.
No, don't take it away from me because I know who it is.
Incorrect. No. Final clue is Jack loves me.
Charlie Austin.
Yeah.
I knew it was him all along. The worst thing is, as soon as you said Poole, I knew it because I know his career path. So
I knew that you knew that. I was just testing your memory.
I mean, Jack, if you didn't get that would be disappointing.
We end the feature with Ben on 2 points, Jack on 4, and Callum Keane on 5 points and takes the points this week. I think that's a 5-3 lead you got now. 5-3.
It is, yeah.
But I have the respect because of Gremio.
You did get that
but Jack leads with the respect of the listeners. Right then, let's see if you can throw that all away now as we talk about some football. We're going to kick things off with Tottenham Hotspur against Manchester City. And was it a turn-up for the books, or were people just underrating Tottenham, Callum?
I don't think it was a turn-up for the books, actually, because I think that Spurs basically set the blueprint in this game for any side that wants to be competitive against Guardiola's City this year. Unless obviously, he adapts massively going forward.
So what is that? What is that blueprint? That's the question.
I should preface it by saying that they have looked fallible, Man City, for the last 3 games in a row. The first was against Swansea, where although they ended up winning pretty convincingly, they were rocky at certain times. And then it was against, obviously, they had the incredible game last week against Celtic, which I think was probably one of the best games I've seen this season in any competition. And then obviously now they've come to the Spurs game with against a team that have much more quality than those first two. And the consistent theme, I think, that has been running through those 3 games is that of really good organisation, high energy, and really good pressing. And I think you often see teams playing, a Guardiola side who'd like to. It's almost instinctive to sort of have your 2 banks of 4 or whatever, and sit back and try and soak up the pressure. But these 3 teams have shown in the last couple of weeks that actually, perhaps the best way to go about beating them and getting at Guardiola's teams is to get in their faces and to actually be so aggressive that it forces them into errors. I think that was what Spurs did really, really well. And it's, arguably Pochettino's the best manager at producing that. Maybe Klopp, but one of the best in the league for doing that. And they executed that to a T, even though they were missing some key players. So I think, they have set the blueprint for how teams should go about beating City this year. Yeah,
when we talk about things like this, I guess it comes to... So how does City avoid this from happening? Yeah. And the question kind of is...
That was the point I was going to get onto.
There isn't really a way to avoid it, because Guardiola, as much as you might think they have to change it, won't be changing it. So they'll carry on playing this. But is there a point to be made, Jack, that if City need to find a way to sort of play in 2 different ways? I know Guardiola won't have that, but in the Premier League, you will face teams that are as high energy as Spurs. They're not the only team to do it. I think, as we kind of mentioned, Liverpool will do it. There will be other teams now looking at this thinking, do you know what, we'll do it as well. We're all athletes. We're still going to have a chance of doing this. So what will City's way around it be? Because they couldn't find a way against Spurs at all. They looked a little bit lost for the first time this season.
Yeah, it's a really tricky one because it's you look at the City side, and as you've kind of already alluded to, Guardiola is set up to play one way, and he will want to play that one way. And this City side, I don't want to say it's one-dimensional. I think they've got a lot of very good players and a lot of good players out wide, but I don't think you'll ever see so much of a change in system as you will just a big rotation of the of the squad itself, because all the players kind of
I think missing De Bruyne is
different.
De Bruyne being out is a big one.
Yeah, but of course Spurs miss Kane. So there's 2 ways to look at it. Spurs essentially set up. I know Son can play as a striker, and they bought Janssen on, but Spurs didn't set up with an out-and-out striker. They set up essentially to press City and to make City's life hell.
It is worth noting that last season, throughout the kind of entire period where Kane was banging in the goals and people kind of were asking Pochettino quite frequently, actually, what happens if Kane gets injured? He always said that Son would be capable of stepping in and being that kind of secondary striker in the squad. Now, obviously, they've added Janssen in today, but the fact that, when the game was, it's not today because today's Tuesday, but the fact that Son has started ahead of Janssen, I think, says a lot about perhaps where Pochettino thinks Son kind of fits in. And to be honest, Son was so instrumental, I think, in this performance because he was really leading the pressing, and the entire squad was pushing with him. He very much dictated when Spurs were going to squeeze them when they weren't.
He's in red hot form at the moment. He's got I think 6 goals and 2 assists in his last 8 games. So he's had a hand in a goal every game that he's played so far this year. And I think you're right about he was the right choice for Pochettino in this situation. He obviously made a very, very conscious effort to press Guardiola, to press City. Claudio Bravo looked incredibly nervous. I mean, pretty much every time he touched the ball in a way that Pep will have not have been expecting. As obviously he brought Bravo in to almost nullify that and to kind of start the possession football from the word go. And Son was crucial in making the entire back 4 and back 5 of City just paranoid for the whole game. And you're right, he's not only playing incredibly well in terms of his contribution in goals and assists, but the tone that he sets that team. You can maybe say that even Kane couldn't bring that. He doesn't quite have the pace and the energy that Son does. He obviously brings different things, but I think the choice there, and also to move Eriksen a little bit further back in the midfield, like he didn't sort of play him in his normal number 10 or out wide where we sometimes see Eriksen play. He moved him a little bit deeper, and I thought that was good because it kept Fernando, who I think was Guardiola's. It was the first time Guardiola had started him this year. I think because he knew that to an extent this was going to happen against Spurs. But Eriksen being in the middle sort of drew Fernando a little bit more into the centre instead of shielding the back 4, and that created that room for Son just to go run wild really, and he was really good.
Just kind of talking about shielding the back 4 and kind of that protection, Wanyama in this game was absolutely outstanding, because there were times when Spurs did press and the passes do find their way through, as they inevitably do with that kind of system. But he had such a good performance for them today. And obviously, last year, defensively, I feel like Spurs in midfield, it was often Eric Dyer who was kind of the player lent on to do that role. Yeah. And no disrespect to Eric Dyer, but I don't think he is kind of a title-winning, kind of starting Premier League centre-mid in that area of the pitch. Whereas Wanyama, he obviously has been touted with links to numerous big clubs. You know, United's been a club he was linked with for a number of years. Obviously, he's kind of seen out the majority of his time at Southampton before the move this summer. And I do feel like there was this air of expectation, particularly when you look at some of the other players who have left the likes of Southampton to go to a big Premier League club. You know, players like Schneiderlin. Yes, he's not played bad for United, but you couldn't really pick out too many performances in title-winning games where he is an influential figure. Whereas in this game, Wanyama's come in and he was a difference maker, in my opinion. There were so many times where he nullified. I know you talked about the fact De Bruyne was missing, but you still kind of look at the attacking talent that City had on show, and the likes of Sterling and Silva kind of playing off Aguero, and then Iheanacho when he came on. But it was just, I didn't expect it from Wanyama, and actually Spurs were a team who I questioned whether or not they'd strengthened enough to go toe-to-toe with other teams who had obviously strengthened over the summer. And this kind of game as a whole kind of, I think, changed my mind drastically, but it was the performance of Wanyama which I kind of think epitomised the fact that this Spurs side was very, very good last year, perhaps a little bit kind of mentally soft towards the end of the season when they eventually, lost their way and ended up finishing third. But they have improved as a team without necessarily signing a load of players, because a lot of those younger players seem to have grown off last year's kind of performances and last year's games against bigger teams. And I think that was very instrumental in this game, that there was quite a lot of experience across the board, and those newer players who have come in, and players who didn't play so much last year, like Son, for example, really stood up and were counted in this game. And I think that is kind of what's driving Spurs up the league right now.
Do we like? I know Harry Kane is obviously first choice for Spurs, but do we think Spurs got almost fortunate that he wasn't available? Because the way that they could deploy Son, the way that they could then play essentially 5 midfielders, and you think about the midfielders they've got there. Dele Alli will run for you if you want him to. Lamela will do it if he's given the job.
Dele Alli was also excellent. I mean, there were so many good standout performances.
And then you've got Eriksen. You've already mentioned Wanyama, and then to have Sissoko in there as well. And then at sort of 70, you bring Eric Dyer into the mix. That is a tough set of midfielders to break down, who will press and press and press and run and run and run.
I will say, it's the first time I've seen Sissoko look like he cared about playing football, other than when he plays for France.
The players that have left Newcastle seem to care as soon as they leave. It's like, okay, we're here at Newcastle, we're not going to try.
Although it's funny, one of the criticisms that Newcastle fans made about Sissoko is that he'd only play in the big games when he knew that everyone was watching. And I think that was they don't come much bigger at the moment, at least, than a top of the table Premier League clash. So, but you're right. That midfield is just so powerful, so fast. And it's if you could pick maybe a midfield, a set of players in the Premier League to play against Guardiola and his system, you'd go with at least a few of those names. I think Eriksen probably not so much, but the others for sure. And as you say, I think Pochettino almost had his team picked for him because they were missing. I mean, Dyer had a bit of a niggle, so he was on the bench, I think, and then Kane was obviously out. So it did make it very, very simple and played absolutely perfectly into his hands.
Yeah, it makes me sad really that we saw, and this is not me being sort of pro-Liverpool, even if I was a neutral I'd be thinking this. It's a shame we saw that game a little bit too early in the season.
Yeah.
We're kind of waiting now to see the sort of the reverse fixture at Anfield, but to see those two teams sort of go at it, who play quite similar styles, will be fascinating. I thought Danny Rose and Walker had good games, but I think Alderfield and Vertonghen were absolutely fantastic. I've not seen a sort of defensive partnership look that solid for a while in the Premier League. As a two, especially.
I've not seen anything like it since Matip and Lovren last week. It was outstanding.
Stop this. You can't do this.
You could maybe say since maybe a Ferdinand and Vidic type like that.
I would go with that. I would agree with that completely. I think, actually, the season that Chelsea won the league, Terry and Cahill was good. But this has been a couple of years now where these two have looked sort of very accomplished.
I don't think... while Chelsea were fantastic that year, I don't think Terry and Cahill sort of dominated the game in the same way that Vidic and Ferdinand or these two do. And what we should say a little bit about City. I thought Aguero, as you'd expect, was the one who really, because he's in such good form as well. This is what was the great thing about this game. So many players were coming into it in fantastic form, and when everyone's playing that well, it's very difficult to suppress them for the 90 minutes. And Aguero did have chances, but as you say, the way that they marshalled that incredibly talented sort of forward line of City was superb, and I think I would put them up there with Ferdinand and Vidic.
Well, so now what's the expectation for Spurs then? They're unbeaten. They're the only team now in the league unbeaten. I mean, I think last week I said that City could go invincible. Yep.
but you have said Son to Real Madrid at some point. If he keeps this going, he might have a...
Yeah, Ronaldo to go to America in like a year or so. Son to go in there, fill his shoes. I think that's probably about right. Probably get all the sponsorship deals as well. But no, seriously, Spurs. What's like at this point? What's a poor season for Spurs? 5th, 6th?
I think outside the top 4. Yeah.
So
we agree on something.
Are we saying that Spurs in 5th would be a massive disappointment?
Yeah.
Which is,
I think the way they're played at the moment, outside the top 3 would be, because that would be a regression on last year.
It's in a way, it's very nice to see a shift in a team like Spurs that for so long with a nearly team, that this season looked like a team that will not only be in the top 4 but will be challenging again.
As much as I mean, a lot gets said about it, but for me, it's all down to the manager, and we see it with Klopp at Liverpool right now. The way that he's changing the culture of the club, and the way that with Pochettino and Klopp, I think it's sort of a little bit different to other Premier League teams in the sense that almost everyone, whether you're a fan of the club or not, can see almost from the moment that they came in that they have a vision for the way that they want to play. And I think people have given them a lot more leeway and time in terms of just, criticism and scrutiny than they do with maybe other managers. Take like Mourinho at United, he's already getting criticism. And I think that's just the way that they act as managers. They are really, you can see what they're trying to do. I think that there's definitely a common theme between Tottenham and Liverpool right now, and the way that they're going about building those sides. And I think really I have the biggest respect for those two, I think, in the league right now.
I was going to say, I feel like it's a shame in some ways. I feel like Pochettino is the kind of manager who will just be snapped up by a big European side at some point in the near future.
And he won't have a chance to do the same thing, I don't think.
But it depends how ambitious he is. Like, he might think that he's at the club. Like, there's not many clubs in the world right now, I dare say, that are as sort of promising as Tottenham. Like, you look around, are there any teams that are on sort of so much of a rapid rise as Spurs and consistently, and they've got a young side there that you can continue to work with?
Northampton Town.
Okay, apart from Northampton Town, is there another team out there that are one looking for a manager, and two sort of that would appeal to him more than Spurs?
And you have to consider as well the sort of relative financial stability and power of Spurs. And when you're thinking about that, I mean, someone like maybe an Atletico Madrid would maybe look at someone like Pochettino.
We've made that link before, I think.
But as I said, they are not on as a stable a financial footing as someone like Spurs. They've got historically big problems. They need a new stadium, etc. So I mean, in terms of the complete setup, as you say, it's probably the perfect place for him right now.
Yeah. I enjoy watching them play as well. I think that's the big thing. I enjoy watching them play.
Yeah. Can I make a criticism of City real quick?
Absolutely.
I thought defensively out wide they were very, very poor. And actually they got stretched wide quite a few times. Obviously, I know Kolarov had the own goal, which kind of epitomised that. But I feel like Kolarov, Zabaleta, even you could maybe stick Clichy and Sanya under kind of the magnifying glass as potentially being weak links for City this year.
It's not the strongest set of fullbacks, I will say.
It's weird because they've all been good. Like you think of players like, for example, Clichy and Sanya, especially Sanya. Like he was very good for a long time at Arsenal. But
Zabaleta's been a stalwart as well of City.
Yeah, Zabaleta's been one of the best defenders in the last sort of 4 years.
But he has been, like, there's a few of those guys going, a little bit off the pace. And I do wonder if they might become a sticking point because you can be as solid as you like, really, as City. But we know how, Guardiola likes to use his fullbacks, how he likes them to push down the middle. Usually, at least. I know he's changed that a few times of late. I do wonder if they've perhaps not got the talent in that area just yet. To kind of play 100% the way Guardiola perhaps wants to in regards to his fullbacks and their positioning.
We will keep an eye on it. Let's move on then. West Ham, we said before the games kicked off last week that they needed to win this game, and they didn't win this game. It was 2-2 against Middlesbrough, and more upset at London Stadium. They're still not happy, as you could imagine. But West Ham, they've got to start picking up. Like we're going into the October international break right now, and they are 18th, which this time last year you would never have predicted.
Yeah, I think we could have maybe
done. It was 1-1. I think I said it was 2-2.
1-1 with Borough. We probably could have done a few games second in the running order, but I think considering what we said about them last week and the sort of situation, this game was really one to watch as to how they'd react against a team that really they should be beating at home, as you say. Because of how they did last year and all the expectations placed on them. And I think the most worrying thing for me watching this game was that other than a moment of Payet absolute genius, which we all know he's capable of, and it was if no one's seen that goal, definitely go and see it. If you can try and get away from the insufferable,
go back in time, go get a ticket to the London Ground, go see it.
Yeah,
it was like a FIFA goal.
If you can separate yourself from the just dreadful Jonathan Pearce commentary, go and watch it, because it was fantastic. But other than that, and that moment of individual brilliance, West Ham were ordinary, and they could have lost that game because I thought Borough were quite impressive and very solid as we expect Karanka's teams to be now, I think. And it was not convincing at all from the Hammers.
I will say as well, Bilic actually acknowledged, I think, for the first time this season that he feels under pressure in the post-match interview, which I don't know if I like or dislike in a manager. Sometimes I like honesty, but there's other times where it's like you want to be like, almost say you're not feeling the pressure and put on that facade.
Is it part of him wanting to show that, like, look, this does matter to me? I do care.
I think there is a risk, actually. There is a risk, and I think actually Martinez had it a little bit last year at Everton, that if you're too overly positive and don't actually say, I'm feeling the pressure and we've not been that great, people don't take you that seriously, and it can look like you don't care and you're a little bit deluded. And obviously, I think when you're in 18th in the league and they'd lost their previous 4 matches, I think as a West Ham fan, you'd always be annoyed if Bilic goes, not feeling the pressure really. It's like, we're 18th, you should be, kind of thing.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with you, and I think West Ham have got this international break, and he's probably got. I think the draw probably saves him. Actually, I bet there's definitely a conversation going on at West Ham right now on what the future lies for them and Bilic. When they come back after the international break, they play Palace, then they're at home to Sunderland, and then Chelsea, Everton. I think we said last week that by that Sunderland game, if they haven't beaten Palace, and then they have a poor result at London Stadium, there's going to be hell to pay for Bilic, by which I mean he'll be sacked and Sam Allardyce will be back in. But yeah,
I was really impressed by Borough in this game. They had 60% of the ball, and we kind of talked about the moment of brilliance from Payet, but they really took the game to West Ham, which obviously it's a West Ham side who they've not been very good of late, and they probably got a little bit of confidence from that. But it's a West Ham side who certainly, last year looked like an outstanding team, and for Middlesbrough to go there and control the ball like they did, I was really impressed by that, because there's a lot of newly promoted sides they would go into this kind of game away from home, setting up for a draw, maybe trying to hit a team on the counter. And I think actually Middlesbrough are a team who have the talent to do that, and they've kind of shown that, I think, in their opening few games.
I think that speaks as well to two things about West Ham. Is first that they, a team that they know how in bad form. West Ham are. They know that they're not playing well, and also they know that the home fans won't get on top of them in the same way that they would have done last year. We've mentioned it a couple of times already this season, but the combination of West Ham being in bad form and the fact that the atmosphere at the Olympic Stadium is not a home atmosphere, at least yet, and teams just feel they can go there and take it to them, almost as like a neutral venue. It's like a cup final kind of thing, isn't it?
What I don't like is that the fact that BBC put on their website, Middlesbrough won just one of their past 17 Premier League away games. It's like, that was about 5-6 years ago, mate.
Yeah.
I don't know why. That was so long ago. But their record's not great away from home, I should say. But then again, they are referencing about 2008, so I don't think it's worth it at BBC. I don't think that
Mark Viduka, Jimmy Floyd, Hasselbank, those were the days.
Those were the days.
I will say, highlight of my footballing weekend came from this game, and it was Jonathan Pearce, who seems to have finally grasped goal line technology. Because it was called in for the Middlesbrough goal. Stuani headed it, and it got cleared off the line. It was given as a goal, but he actually understood what was going on. Which, of course, if you watch the first major tournament, was it the World Cup? It was as long ago as that.
It was the World Cup.
That's a long time ago.
It was.
He was so confused by goal line technology.
It's only taken him 2.5 years. It's taken him 2.5 years.
The BBC have sent him on a course. Jonathan, look, we can't have this again. Okay, it's getting ridiculous. You've got to go in there. Like Steve will go with you. All right, through that room there, you can learn about air goal technology. Comes out, just beaming. Just like, oh my God, I know it all.
I've got this idea. The room that you're talking about is actually just a Sabutio table with a camcorder, like, plonked looking at the goal line. It's like, this is over the line.
I noticed on Twitter this week you liked a Sabutio Cup final.
Did you see it? It was insane.
I watched about 10 minutes of it. I don't know why I was doing it.
Ben, do you think Jack's getting like really into Sabutio, like he gets into other things? Like,
I'm wondering if he's got his own table.
Somewhere I have the France '98 Sabutio set.
I bet you do.
France,
are you thinking about getting
England.
into it? Maybe competitive Sabutio.
Mate, have you if you've not seen the video, I'll pin it on my Twitter because it's that good, and you can go watch it this week. Professional Sabutio is incredible. It's like, as you said, you watch 10 minutes of it, it's like, oh, well, that went really quick. I don't know why I'm watching it, but it's quite satisfying.
I was watching it thinking, is anything going to happen?
I will say, if you watch until the end, it's like 40 minutes long. There is an extra time winner in golden goal. It's incredible.
It is long, listeners. I'm just saying now, if you've watched this, you're not going to want to listen to this. You're not going to want to listen to that.
Ben and I know we just have to humour Jack at this point.
I will say, YouTube videos. There's a YouTube video I saw, and it is relevant to West Ham, actually. There was a London-based YouTuber.
Was it the UFC?
No, he broke into the London Stadium and climbed up on the ceiling of it. If you've not seen that video, it's absolutely insane. It's been going mad on YouTube and going viral.
I did see, actually. It was trending.
It's a sick video. You should, if you type in like Olympic Stadium break-in, you'll find it, or London. It's very cool. It's worth watching.
Should we go from one
condone the
claret and
actions
blue
of climbing on a stadium.
Should we go from one claret and blue to the other, Ben?
Let's. We'll talk about Burnley Arsenal. I do want to come on to Wenger in a moment, though, and chat about sort of Arsenal and his legacy. But Burnley have been beaten at the death by Arsenal. Was it fair, Jack?
Can I just criticise the fact that in the running order, Kino's written it down as 1-1?
Yeah, it threw me.
Sorry.
Yeah, it threw me completely.
Sorry.
But yes, Arsenal got the goal, a late goal, a controversial goal, Jack. And we've chatted a little bit about this before we started recording. Should it have been a goal?
It's one of the weirdest goals I've ever seen, because I watch it for the first time and I go, it's handball. I watch the next replay and I'm like, it's offside. And then I watch the third replay and go, oh, it's neither. Because actually, it's a really weird goal. And to be honest, I think the referee has kind of guessed this.
Like,
I think you can't
talk
predict
us through
this
it, Jack.
sequence
Talk
of
us through it. So listeners that can't remember it, talk us through the goal.
If you've not seen it, corner's taken short. It's whipped to the back post where Oxlade-Chamberlain and Koscielny are stood on top of each other. And Oxlade-Chamberlain goes to absolutely whack it.
It's headed down towards them. It should be said.
It is. Koscielny kind of sticks out a leg to poke at it, and Oxlade-Chamberlain smashes Koscielny's leg into the ball, which hits the ball into Koscielny's arm, and then it goes in. And the argument was basically, was it offside? It wasn't, actually, because Oxlade-Chamberlain kicked Koscielny's leg, which hit the ball. But the handball is a weird one, because it's not deliberate. It's not like he's moved his hand toward the ball. In fact, he's covered his face thinking, I'm going to get the ball smashed in my face here if I'm not careful. And it's gone in off it.
So are we saying if Koscielny wasn't so much of a coward, then it would have been fine and no one would have said anything?
Yeah, and it might not have gone in.
But me and Keane were making the point. Sorry, do you want to make the point, Keane?
Well, no, it's just like one of those those kind of you are the ref examples where they give some kind of strange thing that happens on a football pitch and you have to decide.
It's like a driving theory test, isn't it?
It is.
Like, I can imagine going to referees and being like, what would you do?
It's like an archetype of one of those. I mean, me and you were making a point earlier before the show. Obviously, we sort of went around what we all thought about it, and Jack was obviously upholding the letter of the law regarding handballs when it's clear that it is a handball, and he was like, that is the letter of the law, but really I probably agree with you. So it does sort of just show how what a grey area it is.
We essentially what we said was, I don't think goals should be given if hands direct the ball into the goal when it wasn't going in the goal. So while he's not done it intentionally, he has scored a goal with his arms being in a sort of... Is it a natural position then?
It's not natural, but natural is never in the letter of the law. The law basically says if you move your hands towards the ball, and I think his hands are already covering his face.
I feel like the natural position's used more in the context of penalties in the box and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's such an odd situation.
And to have it happen, I mean, as a Burnley fan or a player or manager, whatever, it must be an absolute sickener to see it go in. So I think it was like 11 seconds after the 2 minutes. Or something like that. It was just the pain you must have when that goes in. And obviously Arsene Wenger gets his win. And we should talk about Wenger because he's been through quite a tough time in the past 10 years, I would say. Probably more. I mean, probably the first year of the 10, he was still living off what had gone on before. But especially in the last 5 years, I think he's come under a lot of pressure and a lot of scrutiny, mainly from Piers Morgan, who's a prized dickhead.
Should say he's been there 20 years, not 10.
Yeah, but he has been there 20 years, but in the last 10 or so, it's been quite tough for him. But we should talk about Wenger because I think a lot of us, well, all three of us in fact, grew up with Wenger's Arsenal sort of dominating, being scintillating, being essentially invincible. Where does he rank then in terms of Premier League managers? Is he second behind Fergie and a clear second?
The issue I've got is, I kind of feel like if he left after the unbeatable season or soon after, it's no contest. But because of what's kind of preceded it, which is top 4 consistency without really ever setting the Premier League alight, I don't know if he suffers because of that. Like, do you knock points off because of that, or do you just look at what he's achieved in his time as a whole?
See, I've thought about this. I'm not really sure because he obviously he had an incredible first decade, really, at Arsenal.
And he revolutionised the game in that decade. It should be touched upon.
He did.
He changed the way football in England was perceived and the way that players were treated. Yeah. And in the way that players then became developed differently and how they were treated in terms of diet and control. And it's just... That is such a big thing that he's brought to the league. Now, while that's not a success on the pitch, that is certainly a success off it. And a legacy that will be remembered, especially at Arsenal, for years and years and years.
And I think... As Jack said,
does it matter to you, Kino? That's the question.
No, I fully agree, and I think if he'd have left after that first 10 years, he would undoubtedly be a legend. The thing is, the 10 years that have followed, I mean, you can pretty much divide it into those 2 decades as to two very kind of different eras. More so what went on around Wenger in the way that the league, obviously, Abramovich came into Chelsea and a whole load of new money sort of came in around that sort of early 2000s period. I think that really changed the way that he has managed. But I think, you take those 10 years in isolation and then you put on another 10 years of really top quality, consistent performance, but not quite hitting the heights of what he maybe did initially. I don't think that should detract from those first 10 years at all. Really. No. So with that in mind, in your original question, where does he sit in the sort of pantheon of great Premier League managers? I think obviously Ferguson is
behind
number 1.
Stuart Pearce.
Yeah, maybe Remy Gard as well. But with him, obviously Jose Mourinho in terms of just what he's brought to the game. But I think those 3 for me really, probably Wenger a little bit ahead of Mourinho as well, undisputed the 3. And it was almost quite ironic really that this kind of the most un-Arsenal goal, really, you could think of, happened in the final minute to win him a game. And of course, one of the criticisms that's been levelled at Wenger's Arsenal in recent years is that they don't know how to win ugly and can't sort of grind out games. And they managed to do it this game, which I thought was quite a nice sort of bookend to his 20 years.
We've not shown Burnley a lot of love.
No.
But they've impressed me so far. They're now 14th in the league. They've got Southampton in their next game, which I think...
Michael Keane, of course, in the England squad now.
That's the thing I was going to come on to, actually, was defensively they've looked very good. Obviously, they did a number on Liverpool early on in the season. They've nearly got something here against Arsenal at home. And as you mentioned, Keane now going into the England squad. Is that almost a tip of the hat to where Burnley are now and how they are doing? Because I feel like if you looked at them as a team going into the Premier League... you might have scoffed at them a little bit. Obviously, they brought in Defoe late on in the transfer window, but you still kind of look at their squad as a whole. There's not many kind of Premier League household names there when you compare it to, say, Borough, who obviously have players like Downing. Obviously, Negredo's been here, done that, got the postcard.
Yeah, I think defensively there was never really that many question marks over Burnley, even when they were first up. They certainly look better prepared now than they did the first time around 2 years ago. And I think, while they had obvious limitations in that first year going forward, I don't think anyone really questioned their solidity and their organisation under Dyche. I think he's taken that to another level this year, partly because of the good form of people like Keane. I think Ben Mee's been really good as well. And with that, obviously, as you say, he's been a little bit more willing to add that goal scoring and ability and creative ability on top of that. I think Jeff Hendrick's been really good for them since they signed him. Scored his first goal last week in the game against Watford.
I will say for Burnley, they've only scored 5 goals in 7 so far, which is a concern.
But I think they can get away with doing that. I think they can get away with doing that.
They've played Liverpool, Chelsea, Leicester and Arsenal. They've played. I know they beat Liverpool, but on paper, it's a tricky game. Chelsea, they obviously lost 3-0, lost to Arsenal, lost to Leicester. In games that they've had to get something from, they've not done too badly. They've got, as I say, they've got a point against Hull, which, a home game against Hull, you probably want to win that. And a win against Watford. They also lost to Swansea. They're picking up points, but they've got to do more. They've got 7, is it now? 2 wins and a draw.
Yeah.
I still fear they won't score enough.
Well, it's difficult because they
don't really know at this stage.
They were really, although they kind of were obviously quite limited last time under Dyche, they did go down in quite sort of unfortunate circumstances. They weren't trounced, and it was pretty a narrow affair when they did get relegated, and they're certainly better than they were that time. So, with that in mind, I wouldn't say the league has improved massively since then, so they'll be there and thereabouts, and whether they have enough, January could be crucial for them because it may allow Dyche to add that extra bit of dynamism that might get them over the line in a few more games to get them those extra few points to stay up. But they will be, in the conversation. So
if Burnley are in that opportunity to bring in a player which is not really Burnley-like, I guess is the phrase I'm talking about, like someone with a bit of star quality that will take sort of the gamble of moving to Burnley in the hope that they stay up, then they have to do it because they've been down once and they've taken the parachute payments, they've got their money from winning the Premier League, they've come straight back up again, but now this is the moment now where they've got to try and stay in the division. They can't be seen to go down again, they've got to try and stay there. And although they've lost to Arsenal, obviously this isn't the sort of game that's going to define their season, they have to be able to take that risk in January if it's not going too well. Or if they're sort of in the say they're in the bottom 6.
Yeah.
For me, they have to take the leap and say, look, okay, let's gamble 10 million here, 5 million there, 10 million there, and let's make sure we stay up this year.
There's usually a few of those moves, maybe 2 or 3 each January. So, as you say, Burnley need to be one of those taking that risk, I think.
Yeah. Shall we move on to Manchester United versus Stoke City? And Joe Allen is, I've said it before, I'll say it again, one of the best midfielders the world has ever seen, and proving it again at Old Trafford, the theatre of dreams, and Joe Allen's dreams did come true. Anthony Martial put Manchester United 1-0 up, and then, as I say, Stoke came back and equalised, and I actually thought United looked pretty good for almost all of the game.
Jose Mourinho said it was one of their best performances of the season. They did create a lot of chances. The most obvious one for me was the after about 90 seconds.
Is that a bit of lip service from Mourinho? Because it's not, is it? Leicester was better.
I'm not sure,
Lee Grant was the difference maker in this game. He made 8 saves, I think. It was joint most this year. I've read the stats somewhere earlier.
I think Leicester almost allowed them to do that. And obviously they scored 2 from set corners. I'm not sure that it was they played in a massively different way. I just thought that Stoke were very obviously better organised, and Grant was superb. And honestly, I think if Ibrahimovic doesn't make that weird decision to try and give him the eyes after 90 seconds and go near post, if he slots that in at the gaping gap and the far post, and they're 1-0 up after a minute, I think it's a totally different game. And it didn't all just hinge on that chance either. I think Pogba missed 2 really gilt-edged chances, the one after a fantastic move which he dragged wide, and then I'm struggling to think of the other one, but there was a second one as well. I think if they take their chances that day, it's a very, very different game, one that really Stoke wouldn't have a look in, and you could maybe fault De Gea for the Joe Allen goal, and I think on balance in terms of individual performances, particularly from Grant and others as well, they maybe deserved a point from Stoke point of view. But I don't think
classic...
Mourinho is wrong to say that they played well, because I think
is it a classic Premier League game where you've got one team trying to like batter the other, but because the other team are capable, and we know they're capable, especially got some decent players, they just can't break them down. It's just one of those games that always seems to end in a draw. Yeah. One team dominates, and it's just that one moment, one mistake from United. Jalen nips in, gets his goal. I want to ask you, Jack, is Wilfred Boney just not any good anymore? What's happened to him?
Good question. Very good question. Because I feel like the issue for him was, although he impressed at Swansea, I never thought of him as a top 4 striker. And then he got that move to City, and he just never... I want to say he was never given a chance, but I'm sure he was given chances, and I'm sure in training he was given opportunities to perform, and he just never shone bright enough to even be considered. And it's a weird one now, because he's now gone to Stoke, obviously, with a chance to try and redeem his career. And you would have looked at that Stoke side and gone, well, they've been lacking a striker for a few years now. You've got Wilfred Boney, he should be coming in, similar club to Swansea to an extent, in terms of the stature of the club and where their aspirations will be this year. And he's just not really made a mark so far. And it's a weird one, because you always feel like Boney's kind of that big, bulky, advanced forward who he's going to be good in the air, but when the ball's down at his feet, he's very capable. He's got a bit of muscle and a bit of strength to play up top on his own.
People said it was a match made in heaven when he went to Stoke. Everyone was very positive.
But when they took him, what I'm saying is they took him off, they got the goal. It didn't seem to fit with what they were trying to do, and I don't know whether he's too isolated. You look at who he's got either side. He's got Shaqiri one side. He's got oh, bloody hell, his name's Arnautovic the other side. Like, they're the sort of players around him that you'd think he'd be absolutely loving. What he doesn't have, though, and I think this is very evident, is that he doesn't have a Sigurdsson sitting behind him, making those little runs, doing those little bits of sort of the talented bits.
I feel like you've done a little dig there at Glenn Whelan, and I don't like it.
Well, like it's Cameron and Whelan, isn't it? And then Alan's kind of there as well. But I feel like to get the best out of Boney, you need players right up next to him. And he had that at Swansea where he was the most prolific. You'd say probably had it at City, but just maybe just isn't good enough. I don't know. Now he's at Stoke. They don't necessarily play a system. They feel like they've bought this big target man, but Boney's not like this 6'3" giant who will hold up the ball and do all that. While he can do that at his height, in a Stoke team which play quite direct, despite the fact that they're better than they were sort of 5 or 6 years ago, they're still relatively direct, especially in games like this. He doesn't seem to have the sort of the required ability to perform in this sort of game. And a player like Jonathan Walters, who you would probably say isn't technically as good as Wilfred Boney, offers more in the running.
It's interesting because you'd expect someone like Bojan to be the kind of player that would really thrive in and around Boney, and they'd both work well together. But we haven't seen that. Yeah. Well, maybe
that's something we might see. But then if they do that, they give up somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I think to be fair to Hughes, I think he was obviously reluctant to play those two against United. We may see it.
I should say, at Old Trafford, I can understand it, but they're still bottom of the league before this game. So there needs to be a change in system or a change in ideas at some point.
Speaking of changes in ideas, Swansea, Guidolin, gone. Did any of us predict him to be the first gone earlier on? I feel like it's a weird one, because obviously he took over in January with Swansea 1 point above the relegation zone, and I think they ended up finishing 12th or 13th last year. And then this year...
Who did you two predict to leave, by the way? Because I predicted the chap at Southampton, whose name was completely...
Claude Puel.
Yeah, I think I said Southampton.
Mine was Pards. Obviously,
Palace... Do you have the same one? I feel like you took the same one.
Palace, scarily good 8th at the moment.
I'm not sure,
actually.
But I feel like for Guidolin, as I was saying, he had a good year last year. I think he surprised a lot of people. I think he came into the Premier League, people were kind of like, who's this guy? What can we really expect from him? And he did what he had to do at Swansea, which was get them way clear of the relegation zone. They were never really in contention once he took the reins. The issue they've got is obviously they've had the American takeover in the summer, and it's very difficult, I think, for a manager when a takeover happens and you know that they're not really happy with you in charge. And obviously they've immediately replaced him with Bob Bradley now. But it seems so harsh given the circumstances, because you kind of look at Swansea's last few games. They have played, so far this season, Leicester, Chelsea, City twice, once in the EFL Cup. They did lose to Southampton, but they've also played Liverpool.
Yeah,
and I feel like going into this game, it was quite interesting actually. I was watching an American kind of media coverage of it, and they were very kind of in the know, I guess, about the fact that the American owners were going to be probably sacking him anyway. And it was it's just a bit horrible, isn't it? Because I feel like Liverpool were pretty fortunate, I think, to get this result against Swansea, given the first half performance.
Well, I mean, I think obviously the speed with which they appointed Bradley after sacking. I mean, it was almost a straight swap, wasn't it? They announced Bradley immediately after saying that they had terminated Guidlin's contract.
I like to believe that Guidlin, like, he went into his office and Bradley's just sat there setting up his things on his desk. There's just a box already patched. Like, you're off now, mate.
Yeah, but Guidlin thinks he's not like he's just someone working there. He's a cleaner. Going,
just
oh, yeah, mate, no, leave that there, mate. Leave that there. And then he's just like, hello there, it's me, Bob. No, that'd be awful. I think that.
No, I think it.
I'm lying. I'd love that. That'd be brilliant.
It reminds me of when Southampton. I mean, not quite the same circumstance, but it reminds me of when Nigel Adkins seemed at the time quite harshly treated to be sacked by Southampton 3 or 4 years ago. And obviously they replaced him almost immediately with Mauricio Pochettino, even though Southampton's results weren't bad. I'm not sure Bob Bradley is the same sort of replacement in that regard.
First ever American manager in the Premier League.
Yeah, the first ever American manager. And if you look at his experience, he spent a long time as the USA national team manager. He's managed, I think, he also managed Egypt, a lot of international jobs. So it's not quite comparable to someone.
I mean, he's done two.
A lot of years. He spent sort of 8 years or so managing international teams.
Yes.
So it's not quite comparable to something like Pochettino. It's very interesting to see how it goes on, and I think really almost as interesting as that is it gives a bit of a clue as to how these new owners. Obviously, Hugh Jenkins is still the executor of all these decisions. He's still been kept on by the owners, but it gives a bit of a clue as to how they might be going. And if I was a Swansea fan, I'd be quite, I'd be sceptical at best about the way that they're going to take the club and what direction.
I feel like it's the kind of move which you almost go, maybe you should have done this when you first took over, before the season started. I know the takeover happened relatively late in the summer, but for me, I know Swansea haven't had the best start, but they've had a very tough start to the year, and I just wonder if it's going to be a little bit detrimental to the squad harmony as a whole.
Do you know what I find really odd about the appointment of Bob Bradley? Is that he was Le Havre manager, and it feels like people think he's just come in as a free agent. Oh my God! What has just gone on there?
Someone's burning down their house.
Bob?
Oh my God! Anyway, should we keep going?
Well, I was going to say he was Le Havre manager, and that's the second tier of French football.
Sorry, for people, I will have edited out. Smoke alarm's just gone, so he's managed.
Leave that bit in. I mean by all means,
it's hurt my ears a lot.
But add some context to why we've just carried on. But he's Le Havre manager, so it's strange that he's been sort of picked up for the Premier League when he's just been sort of managing the second tier of French football. I feel like no one's really talking about that, and it's a little bit odd.
I must admit, there seems to be this over kind of arching attitude that's kind of like a high school teacher's come in and become their manager, which it kind of is, I guess, to an extent, but I feel like there's been a few managers actually who have come in with not a lot of in the way of a fanfare, I guess, coming into the Premier League of late, who have been appointed by owners of the same nationality who have, should we say, surpassed expectations. I feel like Pochettino is perhaps an example of that. A manager who came in, obviously not the same nationality. Obviously, you've had it a bit with Watford and their various Italian managers of late. And I don't know, it's a weird one for me because you kind of look at the table. Yes, Swansea is 17th with only one win, but then so are West Ham. And Swansea have, without a doubt, had the harder games of those two sides.
Sausages.
West Ham are certainly under sausages. Was that what it was?
Or burgers.
Bloody hell!
We went on without you, I'm afraid.
It's a meat feast over at the.
I feel like we can't. I'm just looking at I'm looking at the recording. Oh my goodness!
Jack will edit your side.
Jack,
probably coming through my headphones down the microphone.
Put it this way, Jack. You won't miss it on the waveform. You'll be able to easily edit this bit out.
No, this bit stays in. So anyway, we're talking about Bob Bradley. With the sort of the comparison between Swansea and West Ham, Jack, I think that Swansea's expectation based on last season, I mean, based on the games they've played as well, probably isn't too far off. Whereas West Ham, far worse. And Bilic, I mean, he's not gone, has he? So I don't know what the thought process is at West Ham at the moment. But yeah, I think in terms of the Premier League matches we were going to talk about in detail, that kind of wraps it up. Of course, there were other games. Watford-Bournemouth was a 2-2.
That was an interesting game because both teams wanted to win it. Both teams looked like they...
It's always nice when that happens, Jack, when two teams care. What
I mean is they both wanted the win as opposed to...
I'm saying it doesn't happen enough.
Isaac Success scored in that one.
Oh, yes.
Lovely.
Yeah, love that.
I was very happy about that.
Sunderland 1, West Brom 1. Chadley scored again. I'll tell you, Pulis and his 6-foot wingers. I love that. What a name for a band, Van Aanholt got a goal as well, 83rd minute equaliser.
Chelsea
important
win.
for Moyes. I mean, yeah, right, we'll move on. Chelsea 2-0 against Hull. Still 7 points, listeners. Still 7 points. Willian and Diego Costa getting the goals. Chelsea needed that win as well, when you think about what's been going on recently. Big win for them. And then, have we got any more? There was another one somewhere. I've missed a game out
Everton.
Everton Palace, of course, 1-1, and then Leicester 0, Southampton 0. That's why we didn't talk about those games, essentially. I just want to know quickly on Everton Palace, Lukaku and Benteke scored. Both Belgian, both called up as well, I think. So, just nice to see. Great header from Benteke, by the way.
He'll do that.
Scarily good.
He'll do that.
Scarily good. Right then, that does wrap things up. Before we go, though, we're going to give... Well, hang on, what's up? I was going to go to Kino for a bit of Villa chat.
I was going to say, we've not got a viewer's question, so we need to go to Kino.
We've got more. We've got comedy instead, though. As Ben was about to say, we're not short of comedy.
We're still going to go to Twitter for the end of the feature.
We are.
But Kino, as a Villa fan, I mean, we don't often talk about the Championship because Championship, innit?
As I said, though, I feel as we were just relegated, there is a bit of relevance to sort of the goings on.
We're gonna check in. How are Villa getting on down there? Let's go and find out. Kino, you're our Villa correspondent, being a fan of Aston Villa, and you've sacked. What's happened in the last few days is you've sacked your manager. You've not appointed a new one yet, but you have had an argument with Virgin Trains on Twitter, so things are looking good.
So embarrassing. Like whoever's in charge of that. I mean, did we retweet it on For the Fans? We probably did. If not, we should do.
I feel like me and Jack should do a role play. One of us should play Aston Villa, and the other should perhaps play Virgin Trains.
There's images for context. What I will say is my favourite thing about this entire sequence of tweets is the Aston Villa fans tweeting at the Villa account to deactivate.
The whole thing is a bit strange because for some reason, I don't know why Virgin Trains have decided to start on the Villa for some sort of for a reason. I mean,
everyone else is, aren't they?
Well, the thing is, right, they didn't really start on Villa.
I mean, they made a little joke.
They didn't tweet at Villa. They didn't tag them in it.
Viewers, let's apply some context to this. Virgin, by the way, if you're from a different country, Virgin is just a train company. There's nothing more to it. Virgin Trains tweeted, with Roberto Di Matteo leaving, the next batch of potential AVFC managers have just left for Birmingham New Street, which, they're just an empty carriage of trains. Oh, that's a bit of a dig, because there's no one actually in the seats.
Yeah, precisely.
Anyway, Villa then come back with, would our managerial candidates actually get here for interviews on time if they arrived via Virgin Trains?
I thought that bit was quite good. Like, just leave it at that. Yeah. Don't say any more.
Sadly, it didn't end there, when it probably should have ended there.
Yeah.
Villa then went on to...
this is the embarrassing bit.
1 European Cup, 7 League Championships, 7 FA Cups, 5 League Cups. Get back in your quiet coach at Virgin Trains. That then inspired Work the Space, Jack, here to tweet. Jack?
A picture of the Championship logo.
A dig. And then Virgin decided to challenge Aston Villa with a five-a-side football team. So, I mean, I don't really know why Aston Villa have got involved. And why would you tweet your footballing credentials to a trade company?
I will say, the Villa Twitter account has actually blocked me.
Has it really?
No way.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Jack is now blocked by the Villa. That is
because you tweeted in the Championship logo. Oh my word. So today, Jack, you've been blocked
by a future League One football club. Exciting.
Oh, dearie me.
The most followed League One football club next season, don't worry.
You've actually been blocked by Aston Villa for tweeting a picture of the Championship. Kino, respond to that. I mean, maybe offer an apology to Jack, I don't know.
I mean, I'm sorry on behalf of Villa fans, Jack, for you being cut.
Okay.
You are collateral damage of this whole affair.
I
feel quite bad.
I now had to just ask Siri who Villa are playing and check their Twitter feed to see how many Villa are losing by.
Or you'll have to, incognito browsing on it. So
that's true. Undercover.
but Jack is the poor collateral damage of this whole Twitter beef, and it's quite embarrassing that they tweeted.
Now, the best thing though, Kino, is that there's a list of candidates, one of which is Tim Sherwood.
Well, he put his hat in the fray again.
Would you like that? I would like that. I'm for it.
No,
make it happen. Why not?
I mean, Sam Allardyce is the other option.
Right, well, no, the options are Steve Bruce, who currently
we could have a serious chat about who I would like to succeed.
David, we can't have a serious chat when you're talking about still what it's doing.
David Wagner, not after they've just started on Virgin Trains. No, we can't.
No, exactly. David Wagner, Brentford?
Preferred choice.
Is that Brentford?
Huddersfield.
Huddersfield, sorry.
They're
Dean
top of the
Smith,
Championship as well.
Steve Clark, Ryan Giggs is the same odds as Tim Sherwood. Allardyce at 18.
I tell you what.
Do you know? That's the great bit. Okay, so the list of 18-1 are some fantastic names for next Villa manager. Let me read them to you, Keno. Sam Allardyce just been sacked as England manager. John Carver.
Oh.
To be fair,
Newcastle's John Carver.
Sam Allardyce has been employed and sacked by Sunderland, then employed and sacked by England since Villa last won an away game. So
then we go to Neil Warnock, Steve Cottrell, Mick McCarthy, Steve McLaren, and Nigel Pearson.
I'd love Warnock.
At slightly younger odds, Keno, at 25s, you've got Martin O'Neill, Harry Redknapp, Sven Goran Eriksson, and Tony Pulis.
Just any managers that they can think of.
I feel like with the manager odds, they kind of just get bored by the end. It's like, right, we need some options.
Exactly,
we'll stick a quid on for banter. Right.
I mean, Dwight York is 40-1.
Do you what? I mean,
I'll give you a minute, Keno, to be serious. Who would you actually like and why?
There are two options for me, really, that I think are realistic and would be good. The first is obviously Steve Bruce, and I mean, this kind of ties into the Swansea thing. I think Bruce and Giggs have had the treatment from all the ex-players in the media in the last 48 hours. Firstly, with getting really annoyed that Giggs didn't get the job at Swansea when he has nothing to show on his managerial CV, and then second, other than knowing all the like Robbie Savage, Pete, and etc. very well. So Bruce is the other one that they're calling for, and I think Villa fans would get over the fact that he was formerly of Blues, etc. quite quickly if
he does well.
Yeah, and we have the squad to do that. I mean, we spent 50 million in this summer. We've got a squad good enough to be.
Ross McCormack's good, though, isn't he?
Like 20th in the Championship.
I know. It's just, I can't. And so there's that. Also, but there was a phone in. I mean, this is funny. There was a phone in with Gary Rowett on, obviously the Birmingham manager, on local radio last night, and he did say when asked about this, he was getting some funny questions from Birmingham fans actually, but he was asked about this, and he did say that David Wagner is one of the most impressive managers that he's met, period, in terms of his intelligence about the game, and he has really shaken up the league this year. Obviously Huddersfield are doing really well.
So would he leave then?
Well, you have to be realistic about it, I think, and I think if he really looked hard at the situation, that's before you factor in things like wages, etc. I think we could probably get him to the Villa. So it's either Bruce or Wagner for me would be the first two choices.
I will say my favourite thing about Villa this year is your chairman, your new Chinese owner on Twitter.
Oh, it's
very emotional.
It's great.
My heart bleeds for him. It's like reading a fans page. Whenever they lose, it's like, my heart hurts today. I remember seeing one tweet, it's like, I've signed a £7 billion deal, but my heart still feels sad today because of the result.
We should say a few things about that. Like, firstly, a lot of people don't like the fact that he's so vocal on Twitter. I quite like that he is transparent.
It's like a parody account.
It is, but it's quite refreshing actually. Because I don't really think he's ever revealed anything that's too sort of not taboo, but stuff that might be confidential. It is quite refreshing to know sort of a little bit about, particularly the transfer window, talking about certain signings and positions that he wanted to strengthen that they discussed. It's quite good to do that. He does speak in broken English, and some of it is quite funny. And he's moved to Birmingham for a year while he sort of writes the train wreck
I like
of
to
the
think
Villa.
that he thinks in a year, like he's like, I'm not going home until we get back into the Premier League.
Well,
like 20 years later, still in Birmingham.
I like the guy. And I think he's probably got the best interest.
It could be worse.
You've only lost 2 in the last 9, Keno. I've noticed.
Yeah, but 7 draws. I mean,
7 draws, a lot in it.
And I think you could. One of the arguments is that Di Matteo wasn't given enough time. And it was more the manner in which we've lost about 12 points from winning positions already, and we're only 10 games in. If we'd have, we've conceded in the 85th, 86th, 87th, 88th, and 89th minutes, and lost points from those positions, and we would be comfortably in the top 4 if we'd have held on for those.
I will say, at least Burton on but they are.
They are, yeah.
Burton, who have spent 20
I've been through
in their
this
history.
So how many? I'm not trying to rub it in. How many games did you win last season?
All I know is it's 4 in 51.
It's not great, is it?
It's
I feel like you get relegated to the Championship, you think, right, bounce back, you get 7 wins, it's going to be exciting. I'm going to like football again.
4 wins in 51, that is from May 2015.
This isn't like when Pompey had their decline. This is Aston Villa who won 4 matches in 51 league matches.
I feel like
No, all competitions.
Play out various checkpoints in Villa's history for the last, maybe 5 years, and just caption it with, and then it got worse.
To me, there is one checkpoint. We've spoken about this later. There's one checkpoint, and that is the day that O'Neill walked out on the eve of the season. Yeah. And since then, it has been...
Yes, a broken home.
So, listen, instead of the listener question, we've had some comedy at Aston Villa's expense.
We have. Right. So. That was a good 10 minutes on it as well. Right then, listeners, let's
enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed it more than watching the Villa play for the last 2 years.
Yeah, let's just hope that McLaren gets in there. Right then, let's sum things up. ForTheFansShow.com for the available links. ForTheFansShow.com on YouTube. ForTheFansShow on Twitter as well. The FBAs will announce the finalists tomorrow. We've had words, so if we're involved, we'll let you know.
My tux is ready.
Also, there might be a little bonus podcast this week to sort of say, hello everyone, we've been nominated for this thing here, so if you can vote again, that'd be fantastic. But that does bring us to the end. If you have enjoyed the podcast and listening on iTunes, please leave a like. If you're listening on iTunes, rate the show. And Jack, it was a pleasure as always.
Thank you for having me as always.
Keno, 4 in 51.
I don't know how to feel after the last 10 minutes.
Well, next talk about Villa when they win.
Yeah, we will, promise. Deal. All right then, from me, Ben, and us at For The Fans Show, we'll see you again very, very soon. Okay. International's coming up, so you get a week off, Keno. Enjoy that.
A week off of torture. Yeah.
We're love with care from us. Goodbye.
It's perfection. Keno, I think you're going to have to be calling for an oxygen mask over here, my friend.